Hello, everybody.
Arg!
Charlie and Linda Bloom. I love Halloween.
This is my normal wear, but generally I get dressed up for this presentation, but today I'm just wearing what I normally do because my second occupation is a pirate.
And I love Halloween because it brings out the zany part of people. And they tend to have permission on the holiday to let some of their shadow show. And we're big fans of being in touch with your shadow and playing with your shadow so it doesn't run your life amok as it tends to do when you deny it. And so I really honor Halloween, and I hope that you're going to have some fun on Halloween. So we're exploring today words that can change your life. And we've all had the experience of having some words spoken to us, and it was a life-changing moment. And we want to zero in on what those words could be for you. It's very specific for each person. And we're going to offer you some words that could transform your relationship should you deliver them, should you receive them. But before we give you some of these profound words that can be so transformative, I want you to take a moment to look inside and touch the longing, because there may be some words that you have been longing to hear or maybe longing to speak. And so before we give you our starter kit, we want you to take a look. I'll give you some hints. People have told me they wish that they could hear from their partner, "You are forgiven for everything." That's a big statement to make. Another person told me, "I will love your nutty family as a way of showing love that I have for you." Another person said, "I would like it if you would work with me collaboratively and not make unilateral decisions. If you would pledge to me every major decision, I will come and discuss it with you in hopes that we can find common ground before we make our major decisions." Another, "I want your vision to be as important as my vision for my life. I want to support your vision and for you to manifest your goals. I want to support you to have what is most important to you in your life." And these are all beautiful. These are all magnificent. And yours may be a little different than some of these. Maybe they're not about forgiveness or family or supporting your vision or collaborative decisions. But in your heart of hearts and deep in your soul, you know the kind of things that you're longing to hear from your partner. You also need to get curious about what they may be longing to hear from you, because the way we speak can be so powerful and impact in such a positive way to uplevel our relationship. And now I'm going to tell you what we consider to be the most important question. 6 words. How may I best love you? When we work with people, sometimes they've been together for decades and they've never asked. We tend to assume that we know the way our partner wants to be loved rather than checking with them to find out. And we may get some surprises when we ask, because we tend to be subjective and we give love the way we want love shown to us, and it may be very different for them.
Would you like to know what my words are?
Yeah.
Yo ho ho and a bottle of rum.
So
because I love rum.
so is that about bringing more fun into our relationship? Is that what you're longing for?
Well, I have more fun when I drink rum. Hey, that's a poem.
Well, I have more fun when I dress up. I love to dress up on Halloween. I think that's zany and fun.
Well, I'm just saying. So life is too important to be taken seriously. How's that for wisdom?
That's great.
All right. So I'm here to bring a little spice into your life.
I love it.
How about those words?
I love it.
I'm here to bring a little spice into your life.
Spice me up, honey.
Well, what kind of spice do you like? There's another 6 words.
Adventure, celebration, fun, exploration. There's always the X-rated stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah. So adventure means imagination. It means risk. There's going to be some risk in there.
Yes.
It means playing the edge. It means getting off script. It means more spontaneity. So I'm here to bring all those things into your life because that's what charges my life.
Well, I'm grateful.
What are you here for?
I'm here to support you to have the best possible life that you can have.
Oh, I like hearing those
peace,
words.
To have harmony, to have cooperation, to have connection, predictability, security, and adventure.
Wow.
I don't want to have too much predictability and security because that gets boring. We got to have it balanced off with the adventure.
You can trust me to let you know when we're going too far over on that side of the spectrum.
Oh, I think I have more permission to go to the adventure side than I take. I could use some more of that.
That's right. That's right. So I want to talk a little bit about what else we need beside the words. Because without this one thing, the words mean nothing. And the one thing that I'm talking about is the T word.
The truth?
Trust.
Trust.
And of course, the truth is part of trust.
Trust.
But to trust that what you're saying is the truth, to trust that these ain't just words that you're telling me, but I can count on you to be committed to embodying what you're promising or what you're saying in your actions. Because one thing we know about talk is that it can be very cheap. And it's cheap if it's not followed up with actions that are congruent to what you're saying. So if you say, I am committed to your well-being, I want to know what really makes you happy and I want to give it to you, and you don't do that, you prioritize something else, then not only are those words going to fall on deaf ears, but they're actually going to diminish your trust. So be mindful, be careful, be honest with what you are saying and with what you're promising.
Okay, so the 2 that you are focusing in on right now, the words of affirmation, sincere, true, authentic words of affirmation, and acts of service are 2 of the 5 most popular ways that love is shown. Favorite ways for people to have love shown. And Gary Chapman wrote a wonderful book. I recommend it in every class I teach. I recommend it to most of the couples that I see. He has the top-selling book on relationships on Amazon, and it's the 5 love languages.
It's
the
even
5
sold,
languages of love.
It's even sold more books than we have. Isn't that amazing?
And he talks about the 5 most popular ways. Please don't be confined to these 5, but these are popular. Words of affirmation, acts of service, gifts, touch, and how we spend our leisure time, how you define quality time in the time that you're not working and busy being a human doing. And I don't want you to be confined to these because it's very idiosyncratic for every person and every couple. And not to ever go on cruise control, and just because last month or last year the touch was their favorite, it could change.
Well, not only that, but if you go on cruise control, on that cruise, you might encounter somebody like me who might jump onto your cruise ship.
Mm-hmm.
And
look out. Trouble ahead.
Be careful. Be careful.
Be careful of pirates. So we want you to know your love language, and to also know your partner's love language, and to sit with your beloved. This goes for people that are not in a romantic partnership too. You might want to ask your kids. You might want to ask your parents, your siblings, your best friends. How may I best love you? How may I best show my care for you? How may I best support you? How can I encourage you to go after your life goals and realize your dreams? And you may have some surprises because you might have assumed that you knew. And when I first sat with my beloved and I asked, how may I best love you?
He said, divorce Charlie.
No.
Oh, that
no.
I thought you were talking about somebody else. Okay.
I was really surprised that what he told me was let go. What he wanted was for me to respect that he was an introvert, that he needed a lot of time in solitude, and to respect that.
And I also,
to make room for it.
I also wanted you to let go because you were cutting off circulation in my arm, like you're doing right now. So please let go. Thank you.
I pledged to be the guardian of his solitude, because if that's what he wanted most, that's not my idea of a good time. I'm all about connection. But if he wanted privacy and solitude, I became the guardian of his solitude.
That's right.
And so when you speak these words, be prepared that you could get surprised. Maybe the way they want to be loved is not even in the top 5. And I can tell you about some of the people that I've worked with over the years. I had one woman tell me, my husband was admired by my women friends. They thought that I had hit the jackpot with him because he was romantic. He held my hand when we walked. When we were in social events, he always danced me around the floor and put me in a dip, and they wished their husbands would dance them around the dance floor and put them in a dip.
Instead of being a dip.
And he would put love notes in the books I was reading, and sometimes he put love notes on my car, on the windshield. And in the meantime, he was lying to me. And he had a secret life. And I had no clue about it. Well, when it came on the scene, and, I discovered about this secret life and the affair that he was having, I totally hit the roof. And I told my women friends about it. I didn't keep a dirty secret. And I said, if you have a prayer of staying with me, the way I want you to love me is full disclosure, honesty, no secrets and no lies, ever, about anything.
And what he said was, okay, well, what I want from you is to forgive me for all that and just forget about it, and let's just go on with life.
And she said, I can't forget it, but I think I can forgive it if you earn my trust back by being honest with me.
What that reminds us all of is that when you say or ask your partner, how may I best love you, there is no guarantee that you will provide whatever they ask for.
Right.
I'm just asking you for information, and then I hope you can trust me to do the best I can do with that information, but I may not be able, like she wasn't able to accommodate all of your desires or requests. I may not be able or ready or willing to do it right now, but I do want to know.
It's important for us to tell ourselves the truth.
That's right.
About what it is that we're deeply longing for, and to ask our partner, what they are deeply longing for. Harville Hendrix says that a lot of couples go through their whole lifetime together, 50 years, sometimes more, as psychic strangers because they don't have these kinds of intimate exchanges. It's kind of risky to talk this way. But we're wanting people that we work with to get down to the nitty-gritty, to get down to the things that are most important to them.
But only if you really want to have
a great relationship.
So if that's not on your agenda and that's not something that you're interested in, just disregard all of this stuff. You don't need it. Mm-hmm. You can have a mediocre relationship. You can have no relationship. You don't have to do this unless what you want is something that's not just ordinary living together, ordinary relating. Unless you want something extraordinary, mm-hmm. you don't need to pay any attention to this.
Then there was another woman that I worked with, and she told her husband when he was interested about how he could best love her. She said, I get plenty of touch. You're great with the words of affirmation. You remember our anniversary and birthday. You bring me presents. It's not about that. You're pretty grouchy and grumpy and negative a lot of the time. That would be such a gift to me if you would sweeten up the atmosphere. It's not even that you're grumpy about me failing you or disappointing you. And when we drive in the car, you got road rage against the person who pulled into lane without signaling.
I remember what he said in response to that after she was done. His one-word response, and it was,
No.
He was a pirate too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
He was happy that she told him. He loved her. He loved her dearly. And he didn't know how intensely it was affecting her for him to be grouchy. Because he was kind to her. He was generous to her. But he used to complain about a lot of other people.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, naysayer.
Yeah.
Fault finder. And she didn't like being in the negative energy.
Well, I know that
he cleaned up. This guy cleaned up.
There are some people out there who are saying, yeah, I'm married to somebody just like that myself. Mm-hmm. And it could be men too who are saying that, or women. And you need to take a look at whether or not you have become resigned to this person's personality being immutable and unchangeable, and that you're kind of stuck with a grouch or a grump, because there have been many cases that we are very familiar with, some of them very intimately familiar with, of people who have had a negative, a tendency towards negativity in their attitude, and who, out of their own intentionality and commitment and desire for a better life or a better relationship, have actually shifted that pattern with conscious, intentional choices. Isn't that possible?
So you have to beware that you're not part of the problem.
That's right.
That you're not accomplice.
Exactly.
And that you're not letting them off the hook.
Yeah, you're not enabling them to continue to be that way forever.
And you're not settling.
That's right.
And too many people, this breaks my heart, too many people settle for way less than is available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it is idiosyncratic. I remember two couples that one had the appointment just before the other one. And in the first session that I did, the woman was weeping and she was saying, I really want to hear the words. I just wish that he would say, I love you. Use my name and look me in the eye when he says it. And the man was really pretty self-contained. He was introverted. He was kind of a shy guy. He was a sweet, sensitive guy. He just wasn't used to speaking this openly. Maybe he never saw it modeled in his family. By the end of the session, he finally managed to croak it out of his mouth. And she was so happy. She just was walking on air when they left the office, that he finally did say and look her in the eye and said, I love you. The very next couple that came in, She was ranting and raving. He tells me he loves me all the time, but I don't feel loved. Talk is cheap. He leaves his plate at the table. He doesn't clear up after himself. He takes a shower and he leaves his wet towel on the bed. He doesn't pick up after himself. He leaves his dirty socks laying by the hamper. It would be so easy for him to just put it right in the hamper. If he really loved me, he would do these acts of service. They would mean so much to me. So one person needs to hear the words. The other person needs to see the behaviors. Another person doesn't really feel acknowledged and valued unless they have that diamond earrings for their birthday gift that they've been hinting about. Do you know? So it's so individual. And we need to stay in dialogue with our partner to see what it is that's really going to light up their life.
Now, if you've been paying attention to your partner for any amount of time, you probably already have a pretty good idea of the kinds of things that kind of turn them on and brighten their lives up. But sometimes, and I certainly have been guilty of this myself, we make the assumption that, well, what I would want or need or desire,
right,
if I were in their position, is whatever. And so we humans seem to have this tendency to assume that what would work for me would also be what would work for them. And so we offer it. And have you ever noticed that sometimes when you make that assumption and offer it, it is not met with gratitude?
Solitude. I don't want solitude.
No.
I want connection.
Yeah. So making that assumption, we can then get very disappointed because, hey, why else would you have told me about your problem unless you wanted me to fix it or to fix you or to give you some good advice? So I give you my advice because, hey, why else would you even be telling me about this situation? And I found out that, well, actually, there are other reasons that people might want to tell you what their circumstances are, or what their situation is, or their dilemma, besides wanting you to tell them what to do.
In fact, that may be their favorite way of having love shown is don't give me any unsolicited advice.
That's right. Yeah. So you might want to check in first. And the best way to check in is, number one, notice the impulse that you may have to say, oh, well, here's what you need to do. And if the words you need to come up in your thinking, then you need to disregard that and instead ask a question. Instead of telling them what they need to do, you may be right, but that may not be what they want or need. So the best way to find that out is to ask them that question that Linda offered earlier, which is, in this moment right now, what do you need from me? So
you, at the beginning of a sentence, you're already in trouble before you say anything else.
That's right.
Because they tend to be judgmental. And people tend to pull back, disconnect when they feel judged. We can't help it. We want to protect ourselves. So if the way you want to be loved, treat it as if you're valued, cherished, and honored, ask your partner to pause and reflect before they deliver their message, and delete all the messages that have you at the beginning of the sentence, because they're often critical and judgmental. And this is one of the ways that people long to have love shown, to be shown love with the verbal exchanges that are only respectful and that have curiosity and wonder. So this advice that Charlie's giving you about the message that you want to deliver, see if you can form it into a question, not the kind of questions that are disguised. They aren't real questions. They're judgments. They sound like questions, but they aren't really. Be careful.
Like, how could you even think that? Or what's wrong with you anyway? Those are not questions.
Those are judgments. And if you desire to go for the gold, which we're always encouraging people to do. We have to be very careful about the language that we use so that our communications are perceived as the gifts that we intend them to be, and that they are loving gifts, even if there's some hard truths that need to be spoken. That's sometimes the best kind of a gift, not to leave anything in the denial zone. I would like to honor Thich Nhat Hanh, who is a Buddhist scholar and a Buddhist teacher. He's still alive in his body, although I do not believe he's teaching any longer. He had a very serious stroke and he's retired now in Vietnam. But when I went to the meditation retreat for a 7-day retreat with Thich Nhat Hanh, I thought that what I was going for was to get instruction in meditation. And quite a lot of his Dharma talk was about relationship. And of all the things that he taught us in that 7-day about relationship, what stands out the most for me is to sit with your beloved and ask them, how may I best love you? I will be grateful all my days for that teaching. And I hope to spread it to many, many, many people. Thousands. I'm ambitious that way.
I just want to add to that is not a generic question that you get an answer to, which is applicable to every future situation.
Mm-hmm.
The question really has to do with, in this moment, how can I best serve you? How can I best support you? What do you need now in this moment? Because
changes.
10 minutes from now, it may be something very different.
Mm-hmm.
And depending upon where you are, what your circumstances are at any given time, that's a different question, and it may have a very different answer. So be present with the question. Be present with your response to it, because depending
Mm-hmm.
upon where you are and what's happening in that moment, the answer could be very different.
Okay, so it's Halloween. So if one of the things that you're longing for is to have some fun, get outside of the comfort zone, be a little zany, you might want to play on Halloween. Even if you haven't planned ahead to get a costume, you might be able to throw something together at the last minute and do something a little zany, because a lot of people are fun deprived. And so we're encouraging you, if that's one way that you want to be loved, is to have some fun together, go for it. I want to announce next week's topic. And next week, we're going to be speaking about reframing. Very powerful. All right. All the best and happy Halloween.
Arrgh.